You're listening to Straight from the Hat with Ben Vaughn.
Every day starts with a broken heart. I must be too sensitive for this world. Well, I know it ain't right to cry every night. I must be too sensitive for this world.
He's had a career filled with twists and turns as a performer, songwriter, composer for film and TV, and record producer. For Ben Vaughn, the best part of the journey has been the colorful characters he's encountered along the way. His friend Laura Pocadello, who works for Sun Records in Nashville, wrote the names of those characters down and placed them in a hat. Each episode, she'll select names at random and let Ben relive the stories. No pre-planning, no filter. Just telling it like it was. Straight from the hat.
Hey, Ben.
Hello, Laura.
How's it going out there in parts unknown?
I've been busy. I've been really busy. I have a rodent problem in my house right now, which everyone who lives out here has very often a rodent problem. So
It's part of the lifestyle.
Yeah, you can be as cleanly as you want, but they will find their way in somehow. And you have to relocate them at least 5 miles from where you live, or they will find their way back. And I've experienced that. I've had 1 or 2 of these rodents find their way back. So I found the perfect place to take them and set them loose. There's an old biker bar that's been closed for about 15 years, 20 years now, called the Mousetrap. And I figured, well, there it is. So I release them indoors of this abandoned bar, and they eat the leftover bags of Cheetos that are still laying around.
That's honestly a great spot for rats, really.
It is. It's a humane experience. I feel good about it. They're relocated, not killed. And they have Cheetos, there you go.
They get the Cheetos. Yeah, that's a classic win-win if I've ever heard one.
It is. But they will eat through everything and also drag things from one room to the other and hide them, including a biography of Fidel Castro. This one rat was strong enough to drag that into another room and hide it under the bed.
Comrade rat.
Yes.
Had it all figured out. I love that.
Yeah. So the hat, what's going on with the hat?
Well, I don't think it's going to be Fidel Castro, but you technically never know. So let's find out. Let's see who's next. Okay, reaching in here for a little slip of paper with a name on it. Sometimes I have trouble reading my handwriting, but this one I don't. Here we go. It's Lalo Schifrin.
Lalo Schifrin. Man, Lalo Schifrin, what a talent. What a talent. He left us recently. Mission Impossible, probably the greatest TV theme ever written in that, the urgency of that theme. Oh man, it's the greatest piece of music I've ever heard. And he did some really cool stuff with Dizzy Gillespie too early on as an arranger. So I'm a huge fan. So I'm at this BMI Composers Award in Hollywood. No, in Beverly Hills. Yeah, it was at the Beverly, some huge hotel in Beverly Hills. I had to rent a tux because it was a black tie affair. And I drove there in my 1964 Rambler, which I had this secret switch underneath the dashboard that you had to push to start the car because a friend of mine convinced me that someone was going to want to steal that car.
Maybe as a joke, yeah.
Well, it was a nice one. I mean, it was.
Okay.
I had, I've owned 5 Ramblers in my life, and one of them was cherry, and this was it. This was the one. And my friend had it in his mind that everyone's going to want that car. Everyone. You really need to be careful. So he installed the switch underneath. So pulling into the valet at this fancy hotel parking lot. And I'm trying to explain, and finally the guy took the car down underneath, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to get this back at the end of the night. I'm going to have to go down there. I just know it. So I'm walking in the building. I got a tux on, but I got a 64 Rambler that's like leaving my eyesight, and I may never see it again, And I go in, I sit at my table, And I won an award. It was for the Third Rock from the Sun, actually. BMI Composers Award. So you go up and you stand up on the stage, and I'm up there with Mark Mothersbaugh, and I think Hans Zimmer was up there, and it was like a star-studded evening. And afterward, there was a reception, and we were all sipping champagne or whatever it was. Trays were being brought around, and everyone's looking really good. And there was a BMI photographer who was grouping people together and taking their pictures. And so I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, she pointed to me and grabbed me, and I'm positioned in this group photo with a bunch of people. I never found out who they were. It was a blur. About a month later, the BMI monthly magazine comes out, and there's a picture of me with Lalo Schifrin. I didn't even know I met him.
He was right next to you, and you had
right
no
next
idea.
to him. Yeah. We looked like buddies in the picture, too. We're both smiling like, oh, you caught us having a good time. No, I never even met the guy or had a conversation. I had no idea I was in a photograph with him.
But the photo exists. That's what matters.
It's out there. Yeah, it's out there. And I wish I'd met him, because I would have had so many questions. Just the music to Bullet. Oh, my God. That music is so good. That music is so good. Lalo Schifrin. And there's another story about him. A friend of mine directed a film, and they hired Lalo Schifrin to be the composer. And he said that while they were in post-production, this woman showed up, and the police had to be called because she was Lalo Schifrin's stalker.
Ooh.
And it had been...
That's intriguing.
Yeah, and there was a long history, too, of this woman showing up wherever Lalo was. Yeah, Lalo Schifrin's stalker. I wonder where she is right now.
From the Hat. Here's a good one.
From the Hat.
John, from the Hat. Where's your drum roll?
Oh, hold on. There we go.
Jonathan Richman.
Jonathan Richman. I heard him on the radio for the first time, probably 1977. It wasn't the original Modern Lovers. It was the quieter version of it on Berserkly. And I flipped out. I felt like I heard my soulmate, my musical soulmate, because I was searching for a way to be myself in music when all the people around me were imitating whoever was hot. And you had to pick, you had to pick a genre back then. Like, okay, we're either heavy metal or we're country rock or we're, whatever we are, or we're going to be Little Feat or something, And I was like, I'm not a good enough musician to do anything that you're talking about, but I know I have a voice, and I know I have an expression. I just don't know how and where to do it, and I don't know how to give myself permission. And I heard Jonathan Richman, and I was like, whoa, this is a window into what's possible, is what I felt. And he played a college in Glassboro, New Jersey. So we went. This is deep in the woods of South Jersey, this college. And we went. Somebody from National Lampoon opened telling pornographic stories. That was their set. I think it might have been Tony Hendra or one of those people. It wasn't Doug Kenny. It was one of those kind of people. And then the Modern Lovers came on, and it was amazing. He was playing an electric guitar, like a beat-up electric guitar through a little amp. I had upright bass. The drummer had drums that looked like they were made out of animal skins. And the lead guitar player was this guy, Leroy Radcliffe. And they were amazing. And just his generosity as a performer. And what impressed me the most was the permission he gave himself to be Jonathan Richman. It was like, he's not what anyone would ever try to create, in the music business, right? Like, it's just like he was so unique and uncompromising and happy on stage, and it just blew me away. And he at one point played saxophone on a song. So afterwards, he was walking through the audience, and I grabbed him and I told him how much I loved it. And I said, I didn't know you played saxophone. And he said, I don't. Weren't you listening? And right away I was like, okay, this guy. And the funny thing is that he was supposed to play 2 sets, and he refused to go on for the second set because it didn't agree with the pornographic nature of the opening act.
Meaning he didn't want to follow that again?
He didn't want to be on a bill with that material, no.
Okay.
So my first exposure to Jonathan was already, if you've ever seen Jonathan, there's always a moment where it's either the air conditioning that's wrong or
I got the air conditioning when I saw him, yeah.
Yeah, people on their phones, filming. It goes on and on, you know. He's always got something, right?
Right.
Like he'll ask for some water, and if they give him a bottle, he goes, no, I want tap water. I want to taste the city I'm in, you know. And he's a very strange guy. So fast forward about 6 or 7 years, we're now like 1983 or 1984. He's got that record out with That Summer Feeling on it, and he comes to Philadelphia to play a gig, and it turns out a friend of mine is playing sax in his band, and she pulls me aside and said, Jonathan's looking for another guitar player. You should talk to him. So she introduced me, and we spoke, and he got my phone number, and maybe about a month later, around 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings, and I'm asleep, and I pick it up, and he goes, Benjamin, it's Jonathan Richman. I want to audition you for guitar over the phone. And I was like, okay. So I go down to the kitchen, I grab my guitar and I go down to the kitchen and I pick up the extension because I was in bed when he called. And so I'm figuring it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So I said, where are you? And he goes, I'm in California. I'm like, it's 5 a.m. there. He goes, yeah, I know. The birds are chirping and the sun is shining. It's beautiful. So he goes, I want you to play guitar. And then he goes into this detailed description of exactly how I ought to do it. He says, do you have like a tennis shoe over there or a sneaker? And I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, put it on the table and then put the phone, the receiver right in there like a cradle. It's perfect for this kind of thing. It's perfect. So I did it. And he says, okay, play some guitar. So I play guitar. And then he says, okay, sing something. And so I just, I sang Tallahassee Lassie by Freddie Cannon. I couldn't think of anything else, which, by the way, Freddie Cannon holds the record for the most appearances on American Bandstand.
That makes sense.
He does. Number one. Anyway, I play Freddie Cannon, and he goes, okay, I really appreciate that because he's from Boston, and so am I. That's good. And he goes, thank you. And then he hangs up. And a minute later, the phone rings again. So I pick it up, and he goes, it's Jonathan. I made my mind up. You're not right for the band. Your playing is too aggressive. It's too Link Ray. Sorry. It's not going to work out. And then he hangs up, and I'm like, that's the best compliment I ever got. And I wasn't really in a position to go on tour with Jonathan anyway because I had just started my band and we were starting to get some real momentum going. So it was kind of a relief that he passed on me, but it was a really beautiful way. I mean, he compared me to Link Ray.
Yeah, what a way to get a compliment. That's great.
Yeah. And then we eventually became friends, like actual friends. I guess it was in the early 90s. He was going through a period where he wanted to take a bus to every gig on tour. So he would get on a Greyhound bus, and he wanted to stay.
Oh, not a tour bus. We're talking Greyhound bus.
A Greyhound bus, yeah, solo
Okay.
tour. And he came to Philadelphia, and he was staying with, I was managed at the time by the guys who managed the Dead Milkmen, which is an interesting combination. I love those guys. I love those guys. And so we shared a manager, and somehow they knew Jonathan, so Jonathan was coming to town, and somehow he ended up staying at my place. And we jammed all night. I was playing drums, and he was playing guitar, and we were having a good time. But he really looked like a guy who had just gotten off a really long bus ride. He really looked haggard. And
yeah.
So we had this jam session, and the next day he said, you know what, I can do the imitation, but, hey, Benjamin, I think you should play drums for me for tonight's show. I think it would be very pleasing for the audience, And so we dragged, I had a drum kit that was mismatched. It was like, like a blue rack tom with a red snare and a it was like a bunch of pieces that people didn't want. I put it together, and we loaded it into my Rambler, I had a Rambler wagon at the time. We drove over to this gig and we played. And so we get to the sound check, and Jonathan says, I don't do sound checks. I go, that's cool. And he goes, I don't use monitors either. I don't want to use vocal monitors. You know, the Beatles didn't have monitors at Shea Stadium, so Jonathan doesn't need them either. And I was like, hold it, no monitor. So I'm not going to be able to hear your singing? He goes, no. I go, well, how am I going to know? And he goes, just follow the guitar. And I'm like, I'm like, I'm a huge fan. I want to hear your lyrics. He goes, not going to happen, you know. We're not going to do it. I was like, okay. So we set up on stage, and it was terrible for me because I'm a huge Jonathan Richman fan. He's telling stories that I can't hear, you know. There was one point we're doing a ballad, and he starts telling a story, and there are 3 girls in the front crying. And I don't know what the story is. So I'm getting more and more unhappy. And Jonathan, right in the middle of the show, he goes, hey, Ben, you don't look happy. What's wrong? We're going to take a break, folks, and we're going to work this out. I'm like, oh, great. You know? So we go backstage, and I said, I need monitors. I need monitors, man. I'm just dragging up there. This is like work. And he goes, I'm not going to know. No, you know, the Beatles, you know, didn't have them at Shea Stadium. I said, yeah, but if they were able to have them, they would have used them. He goes, that's not the point. I said, yes, it is. So we're arguing. And finally the promoter comes back and goes, hey, guys, are you ever going to go back on? You know, or are you just going to fight? I'm like, okay. So we go back and we finish the show. And I just got my head down, plowing through it. And afterwards, Jonathan goes, I think that went really well. You want to be with me for the rest of the tour? I'm like, no. No. Absolutely not. I never want to play drums for you ever again. Seriously, Jonathan, we will not have a friendship. Let's leave it right here. So I just saw Jonathan recently, and he, you know, he's had Tommy playing drums with him for maybe 30 years now, I think, at this point. Forever, yeah. So I call him the long-suffering Tommy. But wow, what an interesting guy. And he still, when he performs, there's a certain moment in the show where you realize that you're in the presence of something, I guess it's kind of old world or something, like Charles Aznavour or something. Kind of like an international entertainer from the old days or something. You become aware of like the concept of entertaining, and not just like, oh, I'm watching a great show, but like why we entertain each other, if that makes sense. I had that feeling when I saw Jonathan. Yeah, he told me a funny story once because I was asking him, you know, when the Modern Lovers first came out, he was imitating Iggy. You know, you can tell, you know. Right. It's like a really attitude, and his guitar playing was really, you know. So, you know, I would at one point, they were living, I believe, in Berkeley, or, you know, crashing in Berkeley to record or something, the original Modern Lovers. And I said, what was that like? And he goes, well, you know, Kim Fowley was involved and John Cale in those recordings. And there's a legend, and I haven't asked Jonathan about this yet, but apparently the day before Graham Parsons died, he played miniature golf with Jonathan Richman. Have you ever heard that one? Can't say I have. Yeah. That's a new one for me. And it has something to do with one of the GTOs, one of the groupie girls, something like that. I don't know what happened, but so Jonathan was like, when he was young, was moving in a more rock world, and he never did drugs. He told me he smoked pot once and he had a nervous breakdown. I thought he had to be hospitalized. So he's very straight. But he told me a story about going to see the MC5 at some outdoor football field in Berkeley. And I was like, well, what was your reaction to the MC5? And he goes, well, they came out on stage and the singer says, we're going to play a song that is so vast, it stuns the human mind. And to hear Jonathan say what an intro. Okay. Yeah, and to hear Jonathan say, we're going to play a song so vast, you know, so he's telling his story. And I was like, was it? Did it? And he goes, no, it was like a slow blues. It sucked. Here we go. Back to the hat full of names. We're going to pull out another one. The musical hat. The hat full of music. That's right. Evie Sands. Evie Sands. Evie Sands is known, I guess, for those who know of her, as the person who should have had the hit with more than one song. I Can't Let Go by the Hollies. She did the original of that. And Angel of the Morning by Mary Lee Rush. She did the original of that. And she made some amazing records on Cameo, on Blue Cat before that. Just amazing singles, and then made some albums. And I've gotten to know her, and it's really funny because my bass player in L.A., Teresa Cowles, who is kind of famous for portraying Carol Kay in the movie Love and Mercy, by the way.
Nice.
She has been my bass player for about 15 years. I call her Sister T. Love it. Yeah, rhymes with Mr. T. In case you want to know how to pronounce it. And she was in a band called the Chaos Band, Adam Marsland and the Chaos Band, and they played around town. They're interesting band doing a lot of covers, but oddball covers, like a tribute to, like they did a whole kind of recreation of Smile one night in a bar, the Beach Boys. Whoa. Smile. Yeah, very weird choices. So I played on a bill with them, and I got there. They had already gone on by the time I got there. So I came in mid-set, and a friend of mine is at the bar, and he goes, "Oh, hey, I got a question for you. What do you know about Evie Sands?" And I go, "Oh, man." And I went into what I just said earlier, Cameo Records, Cameo Parkway, Blue Cat, and I even went into like the fact that, what's his name? John Voight's brother, Chip Taylor, produced and co-wrote her songs with Al Gorgoni. And, went into this long, almost like a very boring... You
read the Wikipedia from your brain, basically. You're like, I know quite a bit.
Yeah. And he goes, really? I go, yeah. And he just points at the stage, and I go, what? And he goes, look. So I'm pointing, and there's a left-handed petite woman playing guitar and singing, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Evie Sands. She was in the band.
There she is.
Yeah, she was in the band that night. So my friend basically tricked me into having a Tourette's moment with all the information. Where I was just spewing all this information out.
He set you up, yeah.
Uncontrollably showing everything I knew about it, just for that punchline of pointing to her. And I met her that night, and we're good friends now. I'm probably going to see her today. I'm actually going to a barbecue for Ruth Ann Friedman's 81st birthday today. She wrote Windy for the association. And
will the tortoise be in attendance?
I hope so. Rocky, his name is Rocky, and and at this tortoise, she owns a tortoise that chases dogs. Dogs are terrified, and it goes right at them, and it follows them wherever they go. It's really funny.
I mean, you'd be scared if a dinosaur chased you, though. I
would be, yeah. If I was the size of a dog and this thing started coming at me that looks like a tank, it would be pretty weird. But Evie, amazing. She's still really great. I just saw her perform not long ago, and she did kind of a career retrospective gig, and it was amazing. She did Billy Sunshine, she did You Got Me Uptight, all these titles.
Well, wasn't Billy Sunshine just recently synced in something too?
Oh, was it?
I recall. Oh. Yeah, there's been a few moments for Evie where she kind of comes back into... I don't know, she just has one of those like ethereal voices and careers, and then I love when you will send me a video of just like, yeah, she's performing right in front of me and she still sounds so awesome. Like, it's so cool. And I'm pretty sure it was in a TV show or something like that. Around that same time she was performing that, which is really cool because that's a rare one.
I am happy to hear that. She is as good now probably as she's ever been. Her voice does not show one single sign of aging at all, and no one knows how old she is. She's timeless, and she's enthusiastic, and she's really a great person, really funny, and just very vital. It's great when you run into you and I were both like kind of obsessed with people from a different era,
yeah,
who created art. Some of it's before my time, some of it's when I was very young, and some of it I was actually a contemporary of. But these older artists, I always gravitate towards them, and when you run into one like Bob Lind is a great example. These people do not age. Their voices, their singing voices, do not age, and they're still writing new material. It's really inspirational, and Evie Sands is one of those people. She's really on it right now. And if she comes to your town, wherever you live out there in podcast land, go see her. Do not hesitate. Go see her.
Don't miss it.
Yeah, Evie Sands.
It's that time again. Let's end on a song. Sound good?
I love it. My guitar is right here, ready to go.
Off to the song hat. This is a lovely one. Asking for a Friend.
Oh, man. I need a capo for that. This is a fairly new song. I wrote it maybe about 3 years ago. And it's actually turning into one of my most popular songs on stage, actually, these days.
Oh.
So I'm very happy about that. That new material is continuing to be relevant to people. You know, like anyone who's been doing what I do for as long as I've been doing it, you have a large catalog of songs. And you wonder whether any of them are going to become irrelevant. And if your older songs are relevant, you wonder if your newer ones are going to hit that same chord with audiences that your early material doesn't. I'm really happy that this one is working. And it goes like this. Tell me, how does a heart that's broken never mend? Asking for a friend, and how many days with nights that never end? Asking for a friend, asking for a friend whose heart's in trouble again. I wouldn't know about such things. Why do we fall in love? Please remind me once again. Asking for a friend. Asking for a friend whose heart's in trouble again. I wouldn't know about such things. Could happiness be waiting up around the bend? Asking for a friend. I'm asking for a friend.
You have just enjoyed another installment of Straight from the Hat with Ben Vaughn. To learn more about the names drawn from the hat for this episode, please visit straightfromthehat.com. Don't forget to tell a friend about this podcast. And please, subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice.